say Canada is a great place to invest, and we are determined to get our share. Now, most of all, getting our share of capital depends on smart, hard-working, innovative Canadians like the people who are here with me today. But the federal government can do its part to help them out. And that Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here with a group of people who are so central to our economy. I think you could say that we are here in the beating heart of the Canadian economy. These guys are our circulatory system. So thank you very, very much. I'm grateful to you for your work, and I'm glad to be here to offer you a little bit more support. I am so happy to be here with my friend and colleague, Mary Ng, and my also friend and colleague, Ryan Turnbull. And thank you, Alia Ramji, for being here. Thank you, Louis Anastopoulos, for being here. Je suis heureuse d'annoncer que le projet de loi C-78, la loi concernant un congé fiscal pour l'ensemble des Canadiens, a reçu la sanction royale. Hier, les Canadiennes et Canadiens auront un congé de taxe sur les produits essentiels comme l'épicerie, les vêtements pour enfants et les jouets. Ce sera du 14 décembre, ça veut dire demain, au 15 février. We have been having some positive news about the Canadian economy lately. Inflation has been within the Bank of Canada's target range for the past 10 months, all year. That means more stable prices. And we had a Bank of Canada interest rate decision on Wednesday. Canada is now the first G7 country to cut interest rates the first time, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, and with the bank's decision yesterday of a 50 basis point cut for the fifth time. This is good news for Canadian homeowners. It is good news for Canadian businesses like the great entrepreneurs who are here with me today. So it's solid progress, but these are challenging times in the world, and there is more to do. Right now, we are in a global fight for capital, investment, and the good jobs they bring. Canada's prosperity depends on that. That's always been the case, but it is especially true today following the recent US election and the rise of economic nationalism. Now is a time when we as Canadians need to be assertive. We are fighting for capital. We need to own the podium and say, Canada is a great place to invest, and we are determined to get our share. Now, most of all, getting our share of capital depends on smart, hard-working, innovative Canadians like the people who are here with me today. But the federal government can do its part to help them out. And that's why I have two announcements about what we're doing today. First is about SHRED, the Scientific Research and Experimental Development Program. This is a key tool. It is about tax incentives for Canadian businesses investing in research and development here in Canada. This is the workhorse of Canada's innovation strategy. It supports over 22,000 Canadian businesses. A lot of Canada's innovators, a lot of Canada's R&D relies on SHRED today. We know that, and so today we are announcing that we are going to make SHRED an even better source of support, particularly for innovative Canadian startups. So the fall economic statement will include a significant historic reform to deliver $26 billion in tax incentives for Canadian businesses over the next 6 years. And here are the specific reforms that we are making to SR&ED. First, we're raising the spending limit for Canadian private companies to claim a higher 35% tax credit from $3 million to $4.5 million. Second, we're increasing the taxable capital phase-out range where companies can qualify for the higher credit from 10 to 50 million to 50 to 75 million. Third, and this is one of the reasons that we are here at the Toronto Stock Exchange, we are allowing Canadian public companies to also qualify for the enhanced higher 35% tax credit. That is good for startups that need capital, and that is support for our Canadian stock market. We know how important it is that we have an active, robust stock exchange here in Canada, and this measure is designed to support exactly that. And finally, we are updating the SR&ED program to allow businesses to claim capital expenditures again. This is reversing a cut to SR&ED made in 2012 by the Harper government. So all of this is really good news for Canada. This is about increasing research and development here in Canada. That is about driving higher per capita GDP. It's about creating more good jobs here in Canada. It is about continuing to secure Canada's national economic advantage, our economic sovereignty, our position as one of the world's leading economies. The second announcement I have to make is about pension funds. Canadian pension funds have over $3 trillion in assets and some of the world's best investment expertise. They are envied around the world. And our pension funds invest Canadian money. They're run by Canadians who live here, who love Canada, and who would love to invest more here closer to home. So working with Stephen Poloz, the former governor of the Bank of Canada, we have been really actively talking to our leading pension funds and looking for ways that we could create more opportunities for them to invest here in Canada to make it easier for them to do that. And we've come up with a set of measures that will also be included in the fall economic statement. Before listing them, I do really want to thank Governor Poloz. He has worked really, really hard on this. He has come up with smart, creative ideas, and I know he has been working very collaboratively and effectively with the leaders of pension funds because they've told me that. So, what are we going to be doing? First, we're launching the 4th round of the Venture Capital Catalyst Fund with an additional $1 billion. This is designed to crowd in pension fund investors and provide venture companies with the capital they need to scale. Second, we are providing $1 billion to invest in mid-cap growth companies. These investments will be made by a qualified fund manager. The government investment will be structured as concessional, and 25% of private investment, and will be 25% of the private investment that will be crowded in. Why are we doing this? Because Canadian mid-cap growth companies today are still struggling to get the capital they need. This is about supporting them. This $1 billion investment will give mid-cap companies the capital they need for long-term growth and will be crowding in private capital. Third, we're developing a program providing up to $45 billion in loans and equity, working with pension funds, developing AI data centers. This is about securing Canada's AI advantage and creating good-paying jobs. Canada is a world leader when it comes to AI research. Toronto's own Jeff Hinton won a Nobel Prize just a few weeks ago in physics for his work on AI. We are good at this. We know how to do it. And the task at hand now for Canada is to use that intellectual advantage in AI to secure Canadian economic leadership in one of the most important developing emerging technologies. We've done that with an AI fund that I was in Toronto, I think, just a week ago announcing. And we're doing this now, working with pension funds to get more data centers built. Our cold climate helps. The fact that Canada is a world leader in clean energy helps. And this is really about securing a national strategic advantage in what is a challenging time in the world. Next, we are making it easier for pension funds to acquire controlling stakes in Canadian entities. Currently, Canadian pension funds are restricted from owning more than 30% of a Canadian entity. We're going to change that. And then finally, we're working with airports and Canadian pension funds to explore measures for further pension fund investment on airport lands. Again, I really want to thank Stephen Pelosi and everyone he consulted. This is good news. This is an important step towards getting more of Canada's money invested in Canada. I just want to close by saying, right now, more than ever, Canada is in a global fight for capital. That has always been the case. It is true, more true today than ever. We have to be candid about the reality of the incoming U.S. administration. This is an administration that believes in America first. This is an administration which is proudly an economic nationalist administration. This is an administration which openly has a strategy of creating economic uncertainty outside the United States as a strategy to discourage investment anywhere other than the United States. We're realistic. We recognize that that is the case. And what we're saying today, and I'll have more to say about this in the Fall Economic Statement on Monday, is Canada is going to fight for Canada. Our government is fighting for Canadian jobs. Our government is fighting for capital. And the measures I'm announcing today on SHRED and the pension funds are part of that. We'll have more to say about what Canada is doing to secure Canada's economic advantage, to secure capital, investment, and good jobs in the Fall Economic Statement. Les annonces d'aujourd'hui concernent la facilitation des investissements, des affaires et de la croissance au Canada. Ces investissements créeront plus de productivité et une croissance d'emplois. C'est l'élément central des énoncés économiques de l'OTAN et de notre plan économique. Nous savons que le Canada doit aujourd'hui travailler très, très fort pour attirer le capital, parce que c'est avec le capital, avec les investissements, qu'on créera de bons emplois pour les Canadiens et Canadiennes. Merci, et je cède la parole maintenant à ma collègue, la ministre Mary Ng. Over to you, Mary. And fortunately, Mary and I both use this step, so.
True. I know, Chrystia, it's perfect. No one has to move it. Good morning, bon matin, everyone. It's really terrific to join the Deputy Prime Minister this morning on this really important economic announcement. Lorsque nous soutenons les entreprises canadiennes, elles s'épanouissent, créer des emplois et stimuler notre prospérité économique. When we support Canadian companies, they thrive, they create jobs, and they drive Canada's economic prosperity. And as a global trading nation, our innovative businesses and our entrepreneurs are our greatest strength. We're uniquely positioned as the only G7 country with a comprehensive free trade agreement with every other G7 country, which gives our Canadian companies access to the world's largest economies. Our extensive network of trade agreements, including CETA with Europe, CPTPP in the Asia-Pacific, and now our agreement with Indonesia, the world's fourth most populous country in the world, opens doors to 1.5 billion consumers for Canadian companies. And today's announcement on the enhancement of SHRED that the Deputy Prime Minister just announced is going to further strengthen Canada's global competitiveness. I have just this year led 5 Team Canada trade missions to the world, taking over 400 Canadian companies to those markets. I have seen firsthand how SHRED supports technology companies developing that next generation of cybersecurity systems and AI solutions. Clean tech innovators creating breakthrough processes to create critical minerals or low carbon energy. Life sciences firms that are pioneering medical imaging and digital health platforms, ag tech companies developing solutions for food security and sustainable agriculture, infrastructure firms that are advancing smart city technologies and sustainable building materials. These are real Canadian companies that are growing internationally. Enhancing SHRED will only encourage them to do more, to take those calculated risks, to accelerate their R&D, and to scale internationally. All the while, as they grow, we hope that what they'll do is they'll list here in the TMX. Now, innovation is only part of that solution, and you've heard the Deputy Prime Minister talk about access to capital. It's crucial for Canadian companies to scale up and then to compete globally. So today's announcement also addresses this by unlocking what will be billions of dollars in capital and to create more attractive business environment for our Canadian companies and innovators and entrepreneurs. These measures are going to allow Canadian companies to stay in Canada and create great Canadian jobs. By combining R&D support, trade agreements, improved access to growth capital, we're creating the right and ideal conditions for Canadian companies to become world leaders right here at home. Our trade missions have consistently shown us that Canadian companies are ready. Not only are they ready, they are growing, and they're growing in the international market, and to access that 1.5 billion customers worldwide, and through this enhanced the enhanced measures that the Deputy Prime Minister announced today, we're going to help them be even more competitive right here and to provide their Canadian solutions globally. Merci d'être présent aujourd'hui et de soutenir nos efforts pour construire un avenir plus prospère et une économie qui fonctionne pour tous les Canadiens. Thank you so much for being here and for supporting our efforts to build a more prosperous economy and an economy that works for all Canadians. Thanks so much.
You don't want to use the step?
No, I'm great, thank you. I've got my heels on. Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister Ng, for your announcements and comments. My name is Alia Ramji, co-founder and partner of MT Ventures at McCarthy Tétrault. And
Hang on, I think, yeah.
thank you. And chair-elect of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. In my role at MT Ventures, I am dedicated to supporting startups, scale-ups, and other high-growth companies. Today's announcement from the government about modernizing the SHRED program is highly encouraging. SHRED has been a crucial tool for fostering innovation, but has been somewhat challenging for companies progressing beyond early-stage R&D. Notably, it has remained unchanged for the last decade. I'm sure I speak for my colleagues in the industry when I say that I'm heartened to see that you and our government recognize the vital importance of the innovation, research, and development sector. Thank you. Your approach involving multiple rounds of consultation with the innovation ecosystem, including startups and capital providers, reflects a thoughtful and careful policy development process. I am particularly pleased with the expansion of SHRED to include scale-up initiatives, which is a promising development, and I eagerly anticipate the forthcoming changes to the process. The strength and vitality of Canada's productivity and global competitiveness hinge on our innovation sector. A robust policy framework is essential for nurturing a supportive environment for startups and ensuring the continued growth and success of the innovation ecosystem in Canada. It is essential to maintain momentum by ensuring the SHRED program continues to evolve with technology advancement and market demands. These changes will be positively received by our innovation ecosystem. I am delighted to see ongoing dialogue between the government and stakeholders in the innovation ecosystem to ensure that the SHRED program continues to evolve and align with the needs of modern businesses. It is important to have adaptive policies that can respond to rapid technology advancements and economic changes. By fueling advancement in technology and innovation, SHRED contributes to job creation across various sectors. A robust SHRED program supports the development of high-value industries, making our economy more resilient. As such, reinforcing and expanding this program is not merely an investment in individual businesses, but a strategic move to secure Canada's economic future and international competitiveness. I want to thank the Deputy Prime Minister for appreciating and understanding the importance of the startup ecosystem to Canada's global competitiveness and productivity. Thank you.
Thank you.
It'll be one question, one follow-up. There's a microphone just there for the brief media availability. Just state your name and your outlet. Nous passons maintenant à la période de questions. Ce sera une question suivie. Il y a un micro juste là pour les journalistes intéressés. Notez votre nom, votre média pour cette brève période de questions. Merci.
Hi there, it's Laura Stone, Globe and Mail. We've all agreed to do one question so everyone can get in. Minister Freeland, we've been reporting all week about tension between your office and the Prime Minister's office over the fiscal policy in this country. We've said that the Prime Minister is again in talks with Mark Carney to join the government, and the Prime Minister appears unwilling to personally defend you in public. How can you stay in the government when the Prime Minister continually tries to cut you off at the knees like that, and will you fight back against this effort to replace you?
Well, thank you for the question. For me, it is a huge privilege that I do not take for granted to serve Canada and Canadians every single day. It's a big deal. There are kids here who went to school with my daughter who are great young innovators, and I'm really proud to be able to offer them something that will help their company. I'm proud and grateful to be able to serve in the cabinet of the Prime Minister, and I really don't spend a lot of time focusing on Ottawa gossip. My focus is on doing what I can to serve Canada and Canadians in what's a really challenging time for our country.
Next question, prochaine question.
Good afternoon. Jamie with City TV in Toronto.
And you're welcome for the text support.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, it saves the voice. Anyhow, real quickly, tariffs. We see people, premiers acting out of emotion, fear, and they're not confident in the message that's coming from Ottawa. Doug Ford is wanting to cut LCBO from buying anything American, threatening to pull the plug on the hydroelectricity that goes to the States. You've got the Premier of Alberta very vocal on her confidence in the Ottawa's messaging. Why is the messaging from Ottawa not as strong as the premiers that are in the various provinces?
Okay, I kind of disagree with some of the premise of that question, but
Feel free to
let me,
express that.
let me talk about Canada and the United States, and let me talk about the federal government and premiers. So I have been talking a lot with the premiers of our provinces and territories. I had a good conversation yesterday evening with Premier Ford. This morning, I spoke to Premier Eby, to Premier Moe, and to officials from Alberta. The premiers are an essential part of what needs to be a Team Canada effort when it comes to responding to the challenge from the United States. That's why the Prime Minister has led 2 meetings with the premiers of the provinces and territories, and there will be many more. Now, when it comes to what our approach needs to be when it comes to the United States, I think we've been clear and consistent. We believe that the best outcome for Canada and the United States is to work hard together to achieve a win-win. And we think that's the best outcome because it is based on the economic fundamentals of our relationship. You know, Canada depends on the United States, absolutely. It's also true that the United States depends on us. And the reality is that Canada is by far the largest market for the United States. We are a larger export market for the US than China, Japan, the UK, and France combined. That is a big deal. That gives us significant leverage. And the effort that is happening right now is for so many people from our government, and Minister Ng is part of this, from the premiers and their teams, business leaders, labor leaders are really fanning out across the United States and are saying, you know, are talking about this relationship with the United States, are explaining, we're all explaining to our American counterparts, you benefit from this trade with Canada, which is balanced and mutually beneficial. And we believe that the right path for both our countries is to keep a great trading relationship going and to get to a win-win outcome. Having said all of that, it's really important to hope for the best and to prepare for the worst. And the Prime Minister has been clear that in the event that the United States were to impose unjustified tariffs on Canada, of course we would respond. And the Canadian response would necessarily be robust. I am confident that it would be effective. That was the experience we had with the 232 steel and aluminum tariffs, where a strong Canadian response led to a great outcome. And as I discussed with Premier Moe this morning, that was the outcome that we had with the country of origin labeling, when a strong Canadian response led to a good outcome. Now, for a Canadian response to be strong and effective, Canada needs to be united. And that's why we need to have good ongoing conversations with the premiers of provinces and territories. The ultimate response we come up with needs to be one that all of our country stands behind. And, you know, we need to be working with the provinces and territories. We need to be working with business leaders. We need to be working with labor leaders. That is what we are doing. I truly believe that a Canada which is smart, strong, and united is a Canada which will succeed. Okay. Alors, pour nous, travailler en étroite collaboration avec les provinces et territoires est très important. Et c'est ce qu'on a fait. C'est pourquoi on a eu déjà, le Premier ministre a convoqué déjà 2 réunions des premiers ministres des provinces et territoires. J'ai personnellement parlé avec beaucoup des premiers ministres des provinces et territoires et je vais continuer de le faire parce que nous comprenons que notre réponse doit être forte, doit être intelligente et doit être unie. Pour le Canada, nous préférons une solution gagnant-gagnant parce que nous comprenons que Le commerce entre le Canada et les États-Unis aujourd'hui est équilibré et est bon pour les deux pays. Le fait est que le Canada, c'est le marché principal pour les États-Unis. Les Américains exportent plus au Canada qu'ils exportent dans la Chine, le Japon, le Royaume-Uni et la France, tous ensemble. Alors oui, les États-Unis sont importants pour nous, mais nous sommes importants aussi pour les États-Unis. C'est la réalité. Et c'est aussi la réalité que dans le cas que les Américains mettent en place des tarifs injustifiés, ce sera essentiel pour notre pays de mettre en place une réponse forte et robuste. Et c'est ce qu'on est en train de discuter avec les premiers ministres des provinces et territoires, entre autres. You know, the way I would summarize Canada's response is to say Canada will not escalate and Canada will not back down.
Next question.
Hi, Minister. Good afternoon. So you're going to table the fall economic statement Monday. If there's any implementing legislation required, it's not clear if this is going to pass. So has the NDP or any other party told their price tag yet to get the legislation passed? And if not, what assurance can you give Canadians that anything you're proposing today will actually end up happening?
It's a good question. We are in a minority position in Parliament. That does mean that any measures we put forward that require implementing legislation do require support from other parties. I really believe that the measures that I have described today are really good for Canada. They're good for Canadian innovators. They are good for our capital markets. They're good for the Toronto Stock Exchange. They are good for our extremely strong and promising AI sector. And these measures would be a good idea no matter what. But I really want to underscore for Canadians the fact that we are living in challenging times right now. And we are living at a time of very great economic nationalism. We are living at a time when the competition for capital, the competition for investment is more fierce today than ever. Canada cannot stand idly by. We need to be there and we need to be fighting for that capital, fighting for that investment, because that is how we fight for Canadian jobs and Canadian prosperity. And I really believe Canada has everything that we need to succeed. We have the world's smartest people. That is not an exaggeration. That is OECD data. We have a very strong technology sector. We have strong public capital markets. We build things in Canada. We have a strong manufacturing base. We have tremendous natural resources. We have a lot of power, whether it is oil and gas, hydro, nuclear. So we have all the ingredients to be a really successful economy and to be successful even in this challenging time. But we know that the government has a role to play in helping our innovators, in helping companies to scale up, and that's why we're putting these measures forward. I believe, particularly now, at a time of significant national peril, other parties in Parliament should not be looking at these measures as something partisan. They should see these measures as something that Team Canada needs right now, and so I hope everyone will vote to support them.
Okay. Right. Last question. Last question, dernière question.
Hi, Deputy Prime Minister. Joseph Ryan, CBC News. Can I ask you to answer this in French and English as well?
Oui, bien sûr.
Merci, two official languages. Why did you sell the Air Canada shares this week, and how much exactly will this decrease this year's deficit?
I have no announcement to make about the government shares in Air Canada today. I will have an announcement to make in the coming days. The government was really glad to be there to support this great Canadian company, to support Canadian workers when COVID hit. And we believed then that by providing real government support, we would be able to support Canadian jobs and a Canadian company. We did the right thing then. We were always clear that we did not intend to be the long-term owner of Air Canada shares. Oh, et je m'excuse, en français, je m'excuse. Alors, je n'ai pas une annonce à faire aujourd'hui concernant Air Canada. Pendant la pandémie, on a compris que la pandémie a posé une menace particulière au le secteur d'aviation. Et on a pris la décision d'appuyer Air Canada parce qu'on a compris qu'en appuyant Air Canada, c'était un appui important pour l'économie canadienne, pour les travailleurs et travailleuses d'Air Canada. Et dans le moment qu'on a fait cela, on était convaincus qu'au bout de ligne, ce sera un appui gagnant pour l'économie canadienne, pour les travailleurs et travailleuses et aussi pour le fédéral. On est content qu'on a fait cela. Et notre intention du début était de ne pas être un investisseur à long terme au Air Canada. Merci. Merci pour la question. Je pense que le ministre McKinnon a fait une annonce très importante aujourd'hui et nous tous les collègues du cabinet, nous travaillons en étroite collaboration avec le ministre McKinnon et nous allons lui appuyer et aussi appuyer le ministre Duclos qui est le ministre responsable pour la Poste Canada. Merci beaucoup.